He just put a death mark on all of us, including himself.
What if we just, give her back and say sorry?
Oh, yeah. Here's your daughter, Mr. fucking Antichrist. We're really sorry. Hope she's not too traumatized. Let's play a round of golf sometime.
We leave her with some food, make an anonymous phone call, get the fuck out of Dodge.
I like that.
It's not like she's seen our faces.
Actually, she has, thanks to you.
I was supposed to be the only one in and out of that room, and I wore my mask.
Well, I didn't, so I walk in there to see Angelina Ballerina memorizing my fucking face.
I'm sorry about what's gonna happen to you.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another sweet episode of Citizen Frame. We're taking a little breather from the Terminator franchise. Don't you all worry. We'll be diving into that in the next few days. We'll have that released for you. But I want to talk about Radio Silence. Radio Silence is the new production team, the men behind Scream 5, Scream 6, and a wonderful film called Ready or Not. This is the new duo, Matt Bettinelli-Oplin and Tyler Gillette. They have established themselves as comedy horror gold, but more horror than comedy, as you can tell from the Scream films that they've done. And they walked away and they decided to do their next project, which is an homage to Dracula's daughter, to be specific. And this is, we're here to talk Abigail.
Have they walked away from the Scream franchise?
Yes.
I think I might have heard that, but it wasn't. That must have been after, what do you call the girl? Who's in this? Who's in Abigail?
Melissa Barrera. Yeah, we won't diving deep into that, yeah. But yeah, I don't think they were coming back anyway.
Right.
I think they just want.
So there's going to be a new director for Scream 7?
Oh, yeah, Kevin Williamson.
Oh, Williamson's director. Yes, I did hear that. Yes, sorry.
Mm-hmm. So he's back. So I'm good at that. And Nev Campbell's back.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
all good. But yeah, these guys obviously want to do something different, and so they decided to do this little homage to the classic 1931 Dracula film. A lot of nods to it in this film. In this film, but this is kind of a loose remake of the 1936 Dracula's Daughter.
Yeah. There's also a lot of other films here. It's clearly, let's just say, inspired by, I would say, The Usual Suspects. Also, The Beast Must Die, which is an old Amicus horror film, British horror film, with Peter Cushing from 1974. And there's even a bit from Dusk Till Dawn in there as well.
Yeah, you get kind of it's everything. You can say Fright Night, Lost Boys. So it's got a nice blend of everything, but they do make it their own, which is nice. And see, we got a little Don't Breathe in there. But yeah, I was excited for this one. I saw it in the theater right away because I'm a big fan of these guys. It made its money back, but it wasn't the big hit that they thought it would be. So it got released video on demand pretty quick. So we're able to do this podcast because I like to see the film a couple times. And I was teetering on it because I love these guys. So far, they're batting 1,000 for me. Even with Abigail, they're still batting 1,000. But the problem I had with Abigail when I first watched it was, is there too much comedy? And you need to blend it nicely so the comedy doesn't overshadow the intensity. Yeah, so I had to watch it again because A, was it too childlike? And B, was too much comedy? Because then the horror element gets taken away from it, I think, it overshadows it. So that's why I wanted to see it again. And that's what we're going to kind of talk about with Abigail. So we'll just jump into it. So there you go.
Just before we jump into it, did you enjoy it better the second time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a pass.
Yeah.
It's better. Okay. It's better than in the films we've been getting. It's better than Renfield. It's better than Last Voyage of Detmer.
I agree.
So it just got lost in the shuffle. And I think that's why the movie didn't really do as well as they thought it would, because of the fact the other one's kind of, I think people are sick of it. And if they weren't going to put out anything good, they weren't going to spend their money on it. I do think it's going to find its footing on video on demand. So it might have a cult status to it. I don't know. But it's not their best work. It's definitely their lower tier work. But we'll dissect it and see what your thoughts are, because I know you like that comedy horror, especially like Fright Night, which I mentioned.
Yes.
and stuff like that. So it should be technically up your alley. But let's just jump into it. Got a wonderful cast here. Melissa Barrera plays Joey. Dan Stevens, who I love, plays Frank. Alicia Weir plays Abigail. You got William Caslett, whatever, as Rickles. Catherine Newton, I like her, as Sammy. And I love Kevin Durand as Peter, as the dumb ox.
Yes.
And they got Angus Cloud, who plays Dean. And they got Gino Carlo Esposito, who's always nice to see as Lambert. And a cameo by Matthew Good. Oh, by the way, this is a twist. Matthew Good's in this.
Right, yeah. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Sad note, Angus Cloud, who plays Dean, died right after filming this. So that's why the film is dedicated to him. So if you see a name at the end of the film, and it's a pretty big dedication, which is nice to see. He sadly died of a drug overdose.
Yeah.
During the downtime. The music opens up with Tchaikovsky's ballet Swan Lake, which is I didn't know this, which is the exact same opening titles they used for Dracula, 1931.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, I did my research there, fucker.
I watched the film Dracula. Well, not lately, but yeah, yes, that's correct. Yeah,
we need to get some of the old classic horror, because I haven't seen Dracula in fact probably 40 years.
I have it in DVD, but yeah, I haven't seen it in a while. I've had it. It's quite an old DVD, let's just say.
They didn't want to film in the studio a lot, which I like. I appreciate that. So they filmed. They wanted a house that was tall and big. You could put cameras in, and and so forth. So this was actually filmed in Ireland.
I didn't know that.
This was filmed at the Guinness Family Manor.
Right.
There you go.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
So yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah. I know a lot of films, over the last 10 years or so have been getting filmed in Ireland, North and South, so yeah. No, it's good to see.
Now, let's talk about what the film gets right. The opening sequence. The opening sequence, we'll say, is about 10 minutes, we'll say. In this 10 minutes, they kidnap the kid, and they get to this house where they have to meet Lambert. Now, in that 10 minutes, you right away are pretty much introduced to all the key characters, and you know exactly who they're going to be.
It's a good introduction to them.
Yeah, exactly. You've got Frank, who you know right away is going to be the douche, because he just says, shut up and fucking drive.
Because he's a douche?
Yeah, because he's a douche. You've got the tech smart ass, that's Sammy. You've got the dumbass, which is Dean.
Yes.
You've got Peter, who's pretty much the nice, lovable goof. He's now the giant, lovable giant.
Yeah.
And then you got Joey, who's a little more reserved. But that's it. That's all you really need to know. That's your core audience. And again, I like that small group. And then you're quickly introduced to them. And so we can get the ball rolling. It is quite fast paced when it comes to getting the story out there. And my main concern was it's a fucking kid.
Yes. And that is, yeah, we'll get to that.
I hate kids.
So yeah.
I don't like them in movies. However, this young actress who plays Abigail is very fucking good. And the way she manipulates the team is quite fun.
I would say she can act, but she's still a bit annoying to me.
Well, she is in a way. Believe it or not, of all the characters, she's got the best arc.
Yeah. Well,
we talk about arcs.
Yeah. I don't know. I just got the impression the whole sort of making her a ballerina and stuff was just to have teenagers and young people dress up as her for Halloween in the real world, and it was just too much of a gimmick for me.
No, I don't think that was the point. She says why she's a ballerina.
Yes, it's centuries old as well.
Yeah. So, no, I don't think they're going to go, hey, let's get ballerina outfits for Halloween. Let's put that in Abigail.
But you will get people doing that?
No. Yeah, you would, you freak.
No, I fucking wouldn't. But you will get
you would.
people.
You'd be like, I got my ballerina outfit. I'm Abigail today. I can see you fucking doing it.
I'm a tutu. That's just me on a normal day. And work.
Yeah, fucking freak.
But no, I did think it was about the whole character of her, and especially whenever she was jumping about and stuff and doing the ballerina moves, but also being a ninja at the same time. I just thought it was a bit too gimmicky.
Yeah, but that's exactly what you had shitload of these characters in From Dusk Till Dawn.
No, I know that there, but they were like actually sort of like well done comedy characters, and over the top, characters.
This is over the top.
I know this just didn't work for me. Her. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it's a decent enough film, and it is, an enjoyable, passable couple of hours. But if I had to pick holes, which I'm here to pick holes, because that's the whole point of being critical on a podcast that does movie reviews. I have to be honest as well. She just, I don't know. There was just something a bit too gimmicky about it all for me with her character. And the young actress can act, but. She does come across as a little annoying to me at times, a lot of the times actually,
Now, what doesn't work for the film is a couple things, and there's actually a handful of them. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to give this a solid pass. It's a weak one, and the reason you introduced to Lambert, and played by Giancarlo. He's in it for like 30 seconds. I knew right away they were being set up.
Oh, yeah.
Hands down. There was no twist here. I don't think they were trying to do a twist. There's a good twist coming up near the end, but the twist of Lambert is a vampire, I saw it a mile away.
Yeah, most of the twists are very predictable. I actually said earlier on, the way they're supposed to be this sort of like this revered sort of underworld character that they're all, sort of afraid of. It's Lambert, isn't it? It's supposed to be, that's a name, but that
no. Lambert is
no, I know that there, but what's the name of the? I know he's the guy working for like the mythical sort of underground figure. Lazar, that's it. Yes. Well, obviously that's a complete play on Kaiser Soze from the Usual Suspects. But interestingly, the guy who plays Lambert is in the Usual Suspects.
Yeah. Lambert is the hitman that they all keep talking about.
For Lazar, yes.
No. Christopher Lazar is the father. We meet him at the very end of the film.
But he's still working, but Lambert's still working for him.
Yes, but Lambert he's the hitman, Valdez.
Yes.
His real name is Valdez. He's the one they kind of talk about. We heard this horror stories about Valdez, his hitman. He's Valdez.
Yeah.
Wow, you weren't even paying attention.
No, so he did work for him. That's
You did exactly not. You said, "Oh, it's Lazar," and then you're like, "Oh, it's Lambert."
I got the names mixed up.
Oh no, it's Kaiser Soze.
I got the names mixed up.
You always do that. Always do that.
Fuck off. I usually pedantic as fuck.
Wow. But, somebody's got Tourette's.
and just for a change, it's not you.
Yeah. That bastard. So, what I do like, it's Joey who's the one who goes in and takes care of her. Abigail and Abigail is very good at selling, this distressed child, and
I think she's better at selling this distressed child as she is as a vampire, actually.
And I like the fact when tensions are starting to boil, he kicks open the door to go talk to her, but he does. It plants the seed well. Like when Joey goes to see her, she goes, "I can't see, I'm scared." She does the motherly thing and lets her see and takes out the blindfold. But she forgets to put it on, back on. So then when Frank kicks open the door to find out who her father is, she can see him. And he's like, "Fuck, I love Dan Stevens."
Yeah.
He did a movie called The Guest, and it's such a great film. You got to see it. Dan Stevens in The Guest.
I haven't seen it.
And so good. And Walk Among the Tombstones. Mm-hmm. Those are my go-to for Dan Stevens. Such good films. But yes, and then he finds out it's Lazar, he fucking just bolts.
Yes.
Because he's like, "I'm done. We can't do this." Why? And then he ends up telling the story of Lazar. They all kind of know who he is. And the one thing that does work for it, and like I said, the Lambert twist is stupid, but what does work is the twist why they're there. Because they're there we all think just to be fed on. She's there is the money, yes, but they're there to be fed on.
Yes, by her.
They're bait.
Yes, by the child,
yes. She likes to play with her food.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why they all were picked. It's because they have a history with Lazar in some form or another.
Exactly like the usual suspects.
like the usual suspects. And I think that's very nice that they do that, because there's a scene where Joey's like, I can call out all of you in a heartbeat and what y'all do. I think that's even a scene in Usual Suspects.
Mm-hmm.
So I do like the blend of some of the homages to original Dracula, some of the camp that came with Fright Night and Lost Boys. You even got, Usual Suspects, which would be, it's kind of random in a vampire film.
Yeah. Also,
So
not just the sort of tone of From Dusk Till Dawn as well. The fact that From Dusk Till Dawn, for the first half, it's basically a crime thriller, and then all of a sudden, vampires, and they sort of do that here too.
Yeah, they kind of like the tension builds. I will say this: I do think that portion of the film, the first half, is kind of elongated. I know you want to get to know the characters and stuff, but we kind of already done that. And I do think sometimes when the tension rises, it takes too long to get there. So, sometimes. I also think her being a badass vampire chick, they can kind of, I don't know if she's playing with them. Well, she is. She says she is.
She is.
Like, we'll talk when they go into the bedroom. And they all go in the bedroom. They say, let's go in the bed. They're funny because they're bumbling idiots. Mm-hmm. There's a couple of them that have a good head on their shoulders. You got Rickles, who's the military man, and you got Joey, who are the kind of, and Frank's is all over the place. But it's funny when they first, Abigail finally exposes herself who she is and how they have to fight her off. You're right. It's got a very, Roddy McDowell feel from Fight Night to George Clooney and Harvey Keitel fighting vampires from Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh, definitely. Even like the way in From Dusk Till Dawn where they're talking about like vampire film lore about Peter Cushing and stuff, and all this here, and From Dusk Till Dawn. I mean, the sort of do that sort of thing here with the dialogue. What are we talking about? Where it's the tech girl says, "Well, what are we talking here? With vampires, we're talking Anne Rice or Twilight." That sort of thing.
Yeah. When Joey is talking to Frank about Lazar.
Yep.
And she says a line, I just don't scare easy, but when I do, I pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great line.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's a good line.
It's generally a well-written script, and I think it's probably would read a lot better on paper than maybe some of it has been realized. For example, like instead of like a usual exposition dump, and this one they actually play a game where it's like for like so many dollars, I'll guess what you do. At least, and that's a way of sort of clever and sort of quirky way of sort of giving the audience the backstories to all the characters.
Yeah, I mean that's why I was kind of talking about how the first half's kind of elongated a little bit, because they kind of want to do all this data dump, where the first 10 minutes we kind of knew right away who they are, and then they kind of build on that again, which you kind of didn't need to because we already knew who they were the first 10 minutes.
I think
which they did so well. Now I know you got to elongate it for time, reasons and stuff like that, but I wish there was another threat in the house.
Yeah.
What I was looking, we do find out Lampert's still in the house, but that's the very, very end. That's a very minimal scene. It's a great scene, actually. But I would like to have had something where she has, well, I guess we kind of do. I like the fact they played on the vampire tropes, and none of them work besides the
sunlight,
the wooden stake and sunlight, but the garlic. I love when he tells everyone to get, you get garlic, you do this, you get the wooden stakes, you do this. All the cliches of fighting a vampire.
Yeah. And
Sammy comes back with onions.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't fuck me, you get up to onions.
Yeah. I mean, there are some good sort of horror moments as well, I must admit. Like, where where Sammy ends up like falling into a room and it's just like wall to wall with corpses. That's pretty sort of, and that's when they realize, they've been totally stitched up right from the start. And there's other, good horror moments. For exactly when Dean gets his head cut off, and Sammy comes into the kitchen and it basically she like grabs him and his head rolls off. So yeah, I mean it again, what I think this film suffers from as well, just to back up what you were saying about there being too much with the first half. I think it's too long overall. I think it's like an hour and 50 minutes. I think an hour and a half would have been perfect for this, and it would have been just in and out, pretty quirky, you know what I mean? Just quick jokes flying, and don't let the audience catch their breath, but have it more condensed. I think I would have worked better.
I just don't know what to take away from it, what to remove from it, I guess, because each scene's, there's always something good in each scene. It's kind of like, like we always say, story, you get A to C, you got to have a B. Sometimes, there's got to be a quicker path to C.
Yeah. No, and I think there was, it's like I say, I think on paper, I think it probably reads a lot better than it actually, is played out. I mean, again, it is good, but it's just, I think films like Fright Night and From Dusk Till Dawn are much more memorable and much better at balancing that very delicate balance of comedy and horror.
Well, yes and no. I mean, Fright Night's not scary at all. It's funny. And
but there's still horror
so it's From
moments.
Dusk Till Dawn. I think this has pretty high horror up there with Fright Night, and with the remake of Fright Night is 300 times better than this. I like the remake of Fright Night.
I'd have to watch it again.
I actually think it's a superior film than the original.
Right. Well, generally that's sacrilege to me, but I would have to watch the remake again. I love Fright Night. It's one of my favorite films.
Yeah,
huge amount of fun, and it really balances the horror and comedy to near perfection, as did An American Werewolf in London, John Landis, but Dog Soldiers as well, which we're talking about on this podcast. But yeah, I found it hard to sort of define who was the target audience for this film, especially the way it was marketed as well, which I think hurt it. I didn't think it was really clearly defined, but it appears to be going for like the sort of young adult teenage market. I don't know, it was just I think it was a bit unclear.
When they were gearing up to go after her, and Sammy gets bitten.
Yes.
And nothing really happens to her. I do like the fact they play different on the whole Dracula theory and what happens when you're bit.
Yeah.
And I do like the fact that she uses her as a conduit.
Yes.
And so there's a couple of nice scenes here when you separate them when they're 2-on-2. There's a good one with Joey and Rickles. Well, Rickles goes, "I have your back. Do you have mine?" And he goes, "Yeah, no problem." And then with half a second, he's walking down the corridor, and from behind her shoulder, we see him just stop, and we don't see anything. Just something just attack him, and then she walks toward him, and his whole neck has been bitten out.
Yeah, with his neck and stuff.
Which is nice. And then you have another scene with Peter and Sammy are walking down this. Looks like some kind of botanic garden or whatever, and she opens up to him, and he makes a really nice comment about something about I can't remember, but it was something actually quite poignant.
Yeah, no, I remember the scene. I just can't remember the exact words. It was to do.
Yeah,
it was to do about going to see her son again and stuff.
And no, that was Peter is the doofus.
Peter? Oh, yes, I know, but was it?
No, this is somebody you're talking about, but it doesn't matter what he says, but he says something, and it's a nice moment between them two.
Yes, yeah.
It humanizes these two.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And the minute he's walking away, and he's got a smile on his face, and she's got a smile on his face, Abigail takes over and obviously kills.
Oh, sorry. Yes, this is down at the dungeon. Whenever they have her behind bars.
No.
No. Fuck's sake.
Wow, you're really. You sure you don't want to rewatch this here? Because
I've watched it once. To be honest, before just a couple of days before doing this podcast. But you know what did throw me a bit, because there's a lot of name changing because they've got their real names and they've got their code names and all this. So that was a bit. That's why I'm sort of getting a bit confused when you're talking about people, which one you're actually talking about. I can visualize them in my head.
I'm just going by the names that was given to him by Lambert.
Right.
Yeah, you do find out Sammy's Jesse. Mm-hmm. You find out Peter's actually Terrence. He's the muscle of the Bernard family in Montreal. He stole from his crew, who's a subsidiary of the Lazar family. You've got Sammy, who's actually Jesse. She stole money from the family. Then you've got all these different Dean. It was Frank, was deep undercover agent.
Yes.
Who tried to infiltrate the family. And then you've got Joey, her name was Anna. She's an underground doctor for the underworld, and she accidentally knocked off by somebody because she was a druggie.
That's right.
So she actually cut the artery and killed somebody from the reservoir.
She was off her head when she was treating this person, killed them.
Yeah, so they all have. This is the reason why they've been targeted, because they've affected or hurt the Lazar family in some way.
Yeah,
but you got the jail scene, which I'm not a fan of, and the only reason I say I'm not, it's way too long, too silly. The only thing I like about the jail scene is how she's put in there, is where in the beginning of the film, Joey juices her when they're kidnapping her and knocks her out. And they're saying she's a fucking vampire. That's not going to bother her. She goes, no, it will. I felt her pulse.
Yeah, she was properly out.
She was properly out. So that's how they get her behind the bars.
I felt
only problem I have with it. Was that?
I felt that scene was silly as well. Just the whole sort of back and forward, with the dialogue between them. And
yeah. This scene could have been cut.
Yes.
This scene could have been cut.
Or just had it, but much shorter.
Yeah. When we get to the final, where I do like when Sammy explodes.
Yeah. I like the look of the vampires in this, by the way, with the whole ugly
the big
sort
teeth.
Of teeth. Yeah. And you can hear the sort of teeth grinding in their mouths, And I have to say, I will always welcome vampires being evil, cold-blooded, murderous bastards in a film, because for quite a few years there, it was more like the lovesick teen vampires,
Oh, yeah.
So
they got day glow on.
Yeah, exactly. So give me, sort of badass vampires being proper vampires. That's always a big thumbs up for me.
Now, we talked about, we knew the Lampert twist was crap, but I do like the Frank twist.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the fact that Lampert tells Frank, I need you to upgrade yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to bite you, and then together, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And because Lampert wants to take over the Lazar dynasty.
Yes.
So he needs and Frank's the douche. Mm-hmm. So he knows when Frank's bitten, he's going to become more of a douche. So he's perfect for it.
Yeah.
But I like when he bites him, and right away, Frank does what Frank does best. He kills Lampert.
Yeah, he double crosses him.
It's nice. And I do like the fact that Frank takes a shot at Abigail, and when he does, he becomes more powerful because he bit a vampire.
Yes, he has her blood. Yeah, and it makes her much weaker as well.
Yes. So that whole concept, that whole execution, I liked. I liked the whole double cross. I do like the fact that Abigail is becoming a little more human, I guess you can say.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the fact that she's vulnerable now. So I do like this. I do like seeing that, and that's where when I watch the film again, is where the film kind of wins me over. Well, it's this whole last, let's say about 20, 25 minutes.
It does the progression of who the villain is. It goes from Abigail to basically Frank. So it does.
Yeah, and Frank is brutal.
He becomes the main villain.
Yeah, exactly. And when he takes that spear, or whatever it is, and he pins Joey to that shield.
Yes.
It's pretty brutal. There's a lot of blood going on here. And
well,
there's a nice shot where he's sucking her dry, Abigail,
mm-hmm.
and she does that pinky swear to her.
Oh, I thought that was cheesy. I didn't like that.
I like that.
No, that was cheesy.
No. I would agree with you on, it was a kiddies film. What Joey's is going through, this whole thing is to get her kid back. And you can ask, she sells it well, Melissa Barrera. She does sell it well, and she
can act.
Wounded. Yeah, because she can act. We can tell from the screams. But it was a nice little moment in the beginning of the film, which goes, I pinky swear, nothing's going to happen to you. That was it. It was just what you say to a little child, and that's when, and so when Abigail uses that to her, it was just a subtle reminder of who Abigail kind of really is. She's just a child, especially the way, I like that moment. And yes, you're right. It would come off as cheesy. I would agree with that. Like the thumbs up by the Terminator. But this worked for me. There's something about this shot I actually really enjoyed.
I mean, for each to their own, it does work in terms of a callback to the earlier scene, but it was just a bit too, like the Terminator 2, where it's basically, the thumbs up, or even something like, I don't know, My Girl or something with Macaulay Culkin. It was just a bit too cheesy for me. But I'm a bit of a, you know what I mean? I'm hard to please with stuff like that, I don't like schmaltz.
I do like the fact when Frank is so cocky, he's going to turn Joey.
Yes.
So now he thinks he can control her and be the ultimate vampire.
Mm-hmm.
And you think this big badass battle is about to happen. And it turns out, no.
Yeah.
And he ends up just, obviously exploding.
Yeah. Basically, Joey and Abigail get them together. So they do. And then, that's the end of him.
When they take down Frank, no, he said something before, Frank. Yeah, he goes, before you can do all the cool shit.
Yes, that's right.
You have to be doing this for a long time before you can
learn the cool shit.
The cruel shit. She says cruel shit.
Right.
Which I really like that line. And then you think you're all out of it. She's just covered in fucking blood. Abigail's gonna let her go, which I liked again. And she goes, go see your kid.
Mm-hmm.
I do think Abigail, the actress, plays it well because she plays the new child, but she's also very adult because he's obviously a lot older than she looks.
Centuries old, as she says.
Yes.
I think the young actress can act, but I think at times it is a bit inconsistent. Maybe it's not inconsistent. Maybe it's just annoying to me personally. So, maybe I'm being a bit too harsh on the actress. But there is times the character is just a bit sort of too sort of quirky and sort of trying to be hip and a quirky vampire for me. But as I say, the young actress, she can act. I'll give her that.
Well, here's, I think, the problem with Abigail's execution is the direction.
Mm-hmm.
And what they should have done was baby step her change. So you have the young child, Abigail, who's kind of playing them all, playing against each other, but she's just a kid. So, you don't really know what's happening.
Yeah.
Then you got the vampire Abigail. Then you've got the fucking cruel Abigail.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the more grounded Abigail. She's being vulnerable as she's being attacked. The problem is she went from the kitty to the vampire, back to the kitty, to the vampire.
Yeah.
Well, there's no point doing the kitty anymore.
It's the cutesy stuff that does bug me, I must admit, but I'm like that. Whenever I'm seeing an evil child on the screen, I want Children of the Corn. You know what I mean? I want Isaac and Malachi or Damien from The Omen. I want a proper evil wee bastard. I don't like whenever they jump back and forward from cute. I get that can work, in terms of, the layers of their character, but I just want an evil wee bastard.
Well, you do. I think you do. The way she took care of Peter and Sammy and didn't care about Dean. He was an idiot. Mm-hmm. But there was some manipulation there, and I thought that was played well.
Well, yes.
Yeah,
I wanted more of that. So it did, and you could have had the odd glimpse of her vulnerability as a child instead of it's a bit too full on with the sort of, I'm just a little child, you know what I mean? You sort of ram it down your throat a bit too much, whereas you could have had more, it could have been more subtle.
Yeah, I just think it should have been handled in stages rather than,
mm-hmm.
Bits and parts in between different scenes. Then we got the father who shows up, Lazard, who's actually played by Matthew Good. And
I love that scene.
Yeah.
And I think they really missed a trick. As far as I'm aware, Dracula is out of copyright. And I think they really missed a trick by not making him Dracula, or at least having a really big reference or suggestion that he was Dracula. I mean, they sort of do anyway, but maybe, have him speak in a Romanian accent or something. I would have loved that. And it would have been a proper tip of the hat to Dracula.
Well, the whole film is a tip of the hat.
Yeah, but that would have been just...
you see Dracula's crest that's in the movie. Mm-hmm. The original one's all over the place in the house. Mm-hmm. Bet you didn't catch that, did you?
I didn't actually, no.
Yeah, it's the big crest.
Yeah.
Dracula's family crest in the middle of the library floor. The shield that she's pinned to has the crest on there.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of. Wow, I thought you would have caught that.
Well, I mean,
Wow.
maybe on a rewatch. As I say, I've just watched this the once for the podcast, but yeah, I mean, for me, I very much got along with the usual suspects. The one that was a big sort of other film in my mind was The Beast Must Die, which is about a bunch of people who are summoned to a house, a remote mansion and estate, and one of them's a werewolf, and you have to guess which one is. And there is literally a werewolf break in it, where the audience, it stops for like a while, and the audience has time to guess who the werewolf is. Although the film, as fun as it is and as good as it is, it should really have been titled The Alsatian Dog Must Die, because it's basically an Alsatian dog whenever it's supposed to be a werewolf running about.
Okay, I don't know that film.
Yeah, The Beast Must Die. It's an old Amicus film. Michael Gambon's and Peter Cushing and stuff. Yep, check it out. It's good fun.
Yeah, so rewatching the second time. I'm okay with it. Some things I would have tweaked, but it's not. A little concerned when I first saw it, but the second time, it's maybe that's what you need to do.
Yes,
Is the second? Yeah, you won't. You're just an asshole.
No, I might, but I'm just that fucking busy doing
won't.
other stuff for the podcast.
Here we go.
No, we're working for the podcast and stuff.
Blah, blah,
Ciaran,
blah.
by the way, listeners, Ciaran's a slave driver. He never gives me a moment, so he doesn't.
Oh, really? He literally, before this podcast, threatened me. He's like, when am I getting the fucking reviews you promised me, you fuck? That's what he said to me.
Ciaran.
I said, I apologize, Trevor. I just got to edit all these podcasts we're doing, and I'm just trying to make calendar, get everything set up, and I have to see these movies twice, so I'm a proper host. He told me to go fuck myself. Phantasmagoria is first, and I had to get something written.
It's more like the other way about. Ciaran threatens me on a daily basis. Yeah, we work together, by the way, so we do. That's a lot of fun.
That's a fucking nightmare right there. I was fucking fighting Abigail. But guys, listen. I'm sorry if you're listening to this podcast, you've seen it, but it's available on video on demand. Check it out. I like these directors. They got such a huge future. We talk about losing our directors we grew up with and stuff, but there's some really good talent out there, and these guys are definitely going to be one of them. So hopefully, I like to see him do something different. I like to see him get out of horror now and do, an action film or a good thriller. So we'll see. I know they're gearing up for Ready or Not 2, rumor has it. If you guys haven't seen the film, watch Ready or Not. It is fucking awesome.
I haven't actually watched that yet, but I am going to. In fact, I would watch Ready or Not before I would watch Abigail again, to be honest, because I have heard a lot of good reports about Ready or Not.
I don't think you're ready for it.
Boom, boom.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap this one up. Thanks for giving us a listen. You can Instagram at CitizenFrame_podcast, and of course on Facebook. We're going to jump right back into the Terminator franchise with Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines. And we'll see you then. Later.